Hello, welcome to the Run to Remember Memorial Marathon podcast. I'm your host, Kristen Fairs, joined alongside race director Kari Watkins. This episode, we're talking with Marnie Taylor about one of the best cheer zones on the course, and Jackie Moynia shares her strategies for running the half marathon. The 2025 OKC Memorial Marathon takes place the weekend of April 25th through the 27th. Visit okcmarathon.com and sign up to run, walk, or volunteer. Kari, you're back. You've
Fresh
been
back from the beach. I should have
Seaside.
stayed the entire week.
It's
but
been a
I
little
came back.
chilly for runners in OKC.
Yeah, well, we got a tornado watch there. I'll have to tell you about it
Oh,
later.
you're kidding.
No, we had a race delay. I'll tell you all about it. But it doesn't just happen in Oklahoma City. That was the gift that keeps on giving. Weather.
Maybe you're the common factor in the tornado
don't say
watches.
that. Don't say
No,
that.
I'm just kidding.
No, we had a lot of fun, and you'll hear from Dr. Chambers later. But it was very fun.
You're gonna tell us a little bit about the 5K and the half there, and
The half turned to 10K, and we'll talk all about it.
okay, I can't wait
Amazing.
to hear about that. So first, we're gonna start off with Jackie Moynia, who's running the half marathon, and she is a seasoned runner. You've been running since high school.
Actually, before that.
Middle school.
I have been running this is my 34th year of running.
Wow.
And you're still
yes,
standing.
competitively. I am.
I'm so impressed.
Knock on wood, no major surgeries or major injuries yet.
So how's
great.
how's
That's
training
amazing.
going?
Well, it's going well. You know, we started really training in January, and this last week has been treadmill. But I am getting out on the roads today.
You are?
Yes, I
Good
am.
for you.
Yeah.
In your galoshes or what?
Oh, yeah. I run in trail shoes
Okay.
in the snow, some nice grip, some nice waterproofing. It's good.
That's
Yeah.
awesome.
Well, the Oklahoma weather is always going to throw you for a little
Always.
loop.
Well, and you never know what's going to happen on race day. I mean, we
Yeah.
hope
True.
it's not snow in April, but it could be any kind of weather in April,
I think
right?
we've had everything but snow, so I don't even like to use that four-letter word.
So you're training for the half this year. You
I
ran the
am.
full last year.
I
Was that
did.
your first time to run the OKC full?
It was my first full ever.
Oh, it was your first full
So,
ever.
yes.
How was it?
It was so great. I was not sure what to expect, so I was actually training to try to Boston qualify. But I was like, oh, there's no way, not my first full, and not in OKC with all of the hills, but I did. I ran my first full, and I qualified for Boston. Didn't get accepted because my cushion wasn't large enough, but.
Right.
It was great, and I couldn't have done it, I think, without the amazing course support. So it's fun that you're going to have another guest on that's going to talk about the course support.
What was your favorite part about that day?
The finish. Really, I think one, because of the course support, it's like you're not alone on the course. And, running 26.2 for the first time is really mentally challenging because you don't know what your body's going to do after 13.1 if you haven't done it yet. So having those cheer zones was really what got me from mile to mile, just knowing and looking at my watch, oh, there's going to be a water stop here. Oh, there's going to be a zone here was really a point to run to. But the finish, when I finished, I'm very good friends with Jerry Faulkner, who has run and won.
Yep.
And he got to give me my medal at the
that's fun.
end
Oh, that's
after
cool.
I finished.
I think I remember seeing that.
So just tears, tears. It was such a great experience.
Did you guys run together? And
We did. We actually ran together in college
Okay.
at St. Gregory's University.
Awesome.
Yes.
That's
very
fun.
cool. That's really
Jerry's
fun.
a great guy.
He is.
And so the half, and training's going well. And
It is. We are in, I don't even remember what week or session, but we are working hard at getting our long runs in on Sunday. I'm working with a few different training groups in OKC to get runs on Saturday and Sunday and speed work on Tuesday and Thursday. And so just trying to hit that goal of enjoying it this year.
So that works for you is to try out different groups just because of your schedule and.
Yeah, and there are so many groups to choose from here in the city. So, if you have to do your long run on a Saturday, there's a group that's doing a long run on a Saturday. If you have to do your long run on a Sunday, there's a group that's doing that. And I ran alone for a long time before I joined some of these run groups, and I just saw my times and my goals get so much faster once I ran with a group of friends.
So you recommend groups?
I do. I mean, I still do some of my runs individually, but with the group, you have somebody who's up at 5:30 a.m. when it's 14 degrees, and it really gets you motivated to get out of bed. Yeah, and when you have to do speed work, it is tough to do alone to hit those times. But if you have somebody who's beside you and pushing you, just makes it all that much better. And the celebrations are better. When you finish, you all get to celebrate meeting your goals together.
Jerry will be here again this year. But
Yes,
what are your strategies for running the half? What is
Sure.
secret sauce?
Yeah. First is to pick a goal. I think picking a goal at the beginning of the season, whether it's to finish the half before the time sweep or whether it's to, a really popular goal in the half is to run under 2, or to run your best time. The first thing to do is to pick a goal and then kind of back plan your training from that goal. So what kind of running do I need to do? What kind of training do I need to do in order to meet this specific goal? And then really remembering that it's supposed to be fun, right? So making sure that on race day you are ready, but also have strategized. What am I going to do for the first mile? Don't go out too fast is my first tip. And then just kind of mentally decide, in order to meet my goal, what do I need to do for the first 5K, for the second 5K, et cetera.
What about things, flip it the other way.
Sure.
Are there things that you shouldn't be doing?
Oh, my goodness, yes. So on the day of the race, you should never be wearing a pair of shoes for the first time. You should have practiced what you're going to eat the night before or the morning of. The race day shouldn't be the first day that you're trying a new energy gel or energy chew. All of those things should have been practiced. I mean, I do everything for weeks before. So I will train in my race shoes. I will train in the socks that I'm going to wear. I'll train in the singlet that I'm going to wear, because you never know what is going to be painful or bothersome on the day of the race unless you try it.
Have you ever tried nerd clusters?
I haven't, but I really can't eat and run.
Okay.
So I just can't imagine chewing nerd clusters and trying to run. But kudos to those who do. Yes.
So
yes.
you're more of a goo person than I assume.
Yeah, I do gels. They're easier to get down mid-stride. Yeah.
What would you tell runners who haven't run on this course before? Like, what should they expect on this course?
Anybody who wants to do this race, whether you're walking or you're running, train hills. So
we're not flat as everyone thinks.
Oh, no. I mean,
they're sneaky.
It is sneaky. It is described as a relatively flat course, but when you're running it, especially 26.2, there are a lot of hills that sneak up on you. Gorilla Hill's the famous one that everybody is expecting, and a lot of people train on Gorilla Hill, but there's Walnut Street Bridge.
Right.
Oh, that's way worse. That's way worse.
And it's right off the bat.
Yes, and there's Classen, which nobody understands is a very sneaky, very long uphill, and so training hills will really
gradual,
get
though.
It is. It is a gradual hill, but it is at mile 21.
That's
so
fair. That's fair.
You're tired.
Yeah.
So training hills will get your legs to get that strength to get up the hill, and also just mentally prepare you for the relatively flat course.
Yeah.
You were in high school in 1995 when the bombing occurred.
Yes,
What
I
makes
was.
this race different than others that you run?
Oh, so many things. I think one is the whole mission of the race. I think one of the most amazing things about running this race is the starting line. So you are standing with thousands of runners, and everybody is amped, right? They're ready to run. They've had their breakfast. Adrenaline is coursing through their body. But when they call for those moments of silence, it is silent. And I think just the reflection on why we run, how we are both honoring those that lost their lives on that day, but also celebrating life and our community is just, it's so motivating when you get out and run. And I think that's really different. And I think the other difference is it's such a community-based run. So as you run through the different parts of the city, you get to see all the different neighborhoods. You get to see all the different stops with different, approaches to how they support the runners. And it's a great way to see just the vibrancy of the city.
That's great.
Yeah.
And I think part of it is, it'll be the 30th anniversary of the bombing and the 25th since the marathon was created. So it's going to be a big year, and we're so
yes.
excited you'll be there, and we'll look forward to seeing
Yeah.
you at the finish line.
Yes.
Yeah.
Keep training.
Hopefully with the PR.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
That's
Thanks
great.
so much.
Well, thanks, Jackie.
Thank
Thanks
you.
for stopping by. Kari, it's almost like we planned this to go from somebody saying how great the neighborhoods are to then welcoming somebody to talk
I think
about
the forces behind this might have planned it.
right. Listening to somebody talk about a great cheer zone, one that runners really look forward to. So now we're going to visit with Marnie Taylor, who's said to have one of the best cheer zones on the courses. Marnie, thanks for joining
Well,
us
thanks.
today.
I'm delighted to be here.
Yeah,
Thanks
so
so
you're
I got all
much.
energized listening to her. I wanted
That's
to put
right,
some
you're ready to
shoes
run.
on. Yeah, I'm
Yeah,
ready to
you're
run.
ready to
a little
run.
overdressed,
Yeah.
but I'm ready to run.
So you're from Edgemere Park neighborhood. You've been there about 30 years, is
That's
that correct?
correct.
Yep. So tell us about your neighborhood, where you're located, and a little bit about your cheer
Certainly.
zone.
Well, I'm a big fan of Edgemere Park. I've lived in a lot of the neighborhoods that the marathon runs through. I've lived in Nichols Hills, and I've lived near Classen, but I love historic neighborhoods, and Edgemere is one of those neighborhoods. The thing about Edgemere, it is a huge park. There's actually more acreage of park than there is of homes in Edgemere Park, and so I used to tell people that I saw more runners or walkers go through by my house in the 30 years I've lived there than cars, because it's just anybody who used to run from the downtown Y or anywhere, that Edgemere Park's just a great neighborhood to run through. And when I used to run, which I was a runner for a long time, if you do it's got a street through the middle, so if you do a figure eight, that figure eight is a mile. So it's really nice if you're trying to figure out how many miles you're going, you
Right.
can just know how many figure eights you do if you don't lose track of those.
Wow.
So it's just a great neighborhood for families, for recreation, for the park, and certainly for the marathon.
Sure. So how'd the cheer zone get started there?
Well, I was thinking, we have lived in that house for 30 years. The marathon's 25
Yeah.
years old. And so I've been out standing in front of my house, except one year, actually, with Susan Chambers. We walked it. We were preparing for a 60-mile Komen walk, and we decided that the marathon would be one of our training opportunities. But it's the only time I have actually done the whole course. So other than that year, I've been in front of my house on Harvey Parkway. I live where the median is, between 30th and 32nd.
Okay.
So that's where this cheer zone is. So for 24 of those 25 years, I have been out in front of my house celebrating this wonderful experience and cheering on the runners.
Wow.
How fun is that?
I know.
And you guys, I think, serve some fun cocktail or something.
Yeah,
is
we
that
do.
right?
I want to give credit to my neighbors who moved in about 10 years ago, Bill and Susie White. And she's actually chaired the arts festival. So she loves festivals and parties, and they amped it up. When they moved in, we're all OSU fans. What first started as a big OSU thing, and we started with a DJ. I don't think I use as many calories or burn as many calories as the runners, but when you've danced for 2 hours straight and hopped around for 2 hours straight at 5:30 or 6 in the morning, you've burned some
burning some-
calories.
yeah.
So it's a dancing experience, but in addition, we call it Mimosa Lane. So I happen to live in a house, I know Kari's been there, with a big circle driveway, and so that becomes the mimosa stop. So we make it very clear to the runners, Bill's house is oranges and orange juice, but when you come to our house, there's alcohol in that little cup. But so what I do, because I really am sensitive to that, I don't want someone grabbing alcohol
Sure.
who doesn't want it or shouldn't have it. So I hold up these bottles to show them. I dance with champagne bottles in my hands, but that makes it very clear to them there is alcohol in this
Right,
drink.
right.
That's why they're running towards you.
Yeah. You'd be surprised. They
Do
are.
you get a lot
Yeah.
of runners?
Tons.
Yep.
Yes.
And certainly the elite runners who are out
Sure.
early just they're just looking at the street. But I bet you half an hour in, people start wanting a little sip
Yeah.
and a little sip. And
Why
it's
not?
I have
yeah.
to admit that I have partaken in a mimosa from Mimosa Lane.
There you
before
go.
on a race.
Great.
Oh, that makes me happy.
I would have to have more than that.
I will
But
say,
I'm glad you're doing it.
as the morning goes on, there are groups who just stop and just stand
stay.
and ask for refills. So
good.
and we can't pour them fast enough. We probably have 6 people. We have who's opening the champagne bottles are a little more challenging to open. Who's opening the champagne? Who's pouring the juice? Who's pouring the champagne? Who's pushing the cup out? So we have it's a neighborhood. It's a street-wide event, but we need lots of helping hands.
Yeah. So why do you keep doing this every year? I'm sure it's a lot of work.
It is the most fun. Because I'm a former runner, it really made me kind of sad that I just had issues with my back, and it was better that I stopped, but I love to walk and hike. But it made me sad. So at first I really almost didn't want to be there because I couldn't do it, and I'm sure you've heard that story from other people. And then I'm like, wait, this is a citywide, statewide celebration of something that has moved from tragedy to this Oklahoma standard and bringing it to the streets. So I would not be there. I will always set my alarm early and always be there because it really brings fulfillment to me to be able to participate in some way.
And second generation Taylors are taking it over to Lincoln
They are.
Terrace, right?
So my son Clay and his wife moved to Lincoln Terrace several years ago. Obviously, they like old homes too, but the marathon didn't go there. And so the kids would sometimes come back because they grew up with us dragging them out of bed to come downstairs to the marathon. And all of a sudden, when it moved over there, Clay and Becky and several of their neighbors replicated. And I will just say, they are beyond us. They have grills and cook pancakes. And
bounce houses.
They have a bounce house. And so what we do is when we're done, we go over there because the party still goes on pretty much all day at the
Lincoln
juniors.
Terrace.
Yeah,
That's
I'm kind
great.
of glad our generation can shut it down, but they can go all day.
They can go
That's
all day.
awesome.
And
They
I
can go
have
all
my
day.
brother lives on the course, and I think sometimes they toy with the idea of moving, but one of the things that I truly believe keeps them where they are is that they don't want to move
They don't want to miss the marathon.
because you don't want to move off the marathon course.
That
It's-
might
Love
be, we
that.
might tell the realtors to put that in.
but you know what? I mean, for real, like it's really
Yeah,
kind
it
of a
is,
draw
it is, it is.
to be on there. Yeah.
It is.
You were at the Red Cross at the time of the bombing.
Yes, my life changed forever too. I was a part-time employee at the Red Cross. They had asked me Debbie Hampton had asked me to start the Youth Leadership Program, YLX, and most people are familiar with that program but don't know it started at the Red Cross and then eventually moved to Leadership Oklahoma City. So it was a Wednesday morning, and I was on the road coming, and I got the call. I mean, I heard the bomb, and then I got the call to come back. So I really got to live this experience through the eyes of the Red Cross, the volunteers, all that Debbie did, all the Red Cross did. My husband Clayton is a really good professional speaker, so he was called in to be the main spokesperson for the Red Cross. I went in the building with the Red Cross media, I think either day one or day two. So for someone who was innocently running trying to start a youth leadership program, I was thrown into an experience that it did change my life forever. And interestingly enough, the Oklahoma Center for Nonprofits, where I'm employed, has purchased that building.
So you're back.
I'm back.
Full circle.
I'm back. And I walk up my stairs. My office is upstairs. And I think there's a railing. And Debbie used to stand up there, and I did too, all of us who worked there. And all the volunteers would come and stand downstairs, and we could talk to them and tell them what they were going to do. And when I walk in the door, I remember the signs that were on the door because people thought their children were there, and they weren't. And we had to put signs up. So it's so interesting that 30 years later, I own that building. And so, I don't know, God had a plan for me. I don't know what it was, but
Wow, it's a
I feel
great story.
blessed by it. And the nicest thing, I think most people know that when we purchased it, the Red Cross rents the 5,000 square feet back in the back of the building. So all their emergency vehicles are there, all of their volunteers come through. So it's a really good story about, they didn't get displaced. They got enhanced really by us being able to purchase and renovate the building and make it a true center for all nonprofits, and they are our tenant.
It's great, working together.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I think part of just our motto of a day of darkness, years of light, that's a great example of that. But just in Edgemere Park, Susan Farrell, one of the victims of the bombing, lived there, and they still, I think, hang a banner in her honor every year during the
and there's a
race.
bench there is a bench in the park. We have a lot of benches, but hers was one of the very first ones put up with a name plaque on it.
So you just look at it, 30 years later, this is still integral in a part of everyone's life. And you don't just walk away from it because it's 30 years, right?
Right. No, exactly. And what I love about the marathon is there are, as I was thinking, maybe almost two generations of kids who might not know or weren't alive or were too young to remember. My grandchildren certainly weren't. My kids were barely. So you think about the fact this memorial, this run keeps this alive. I mean, people come down and visit your beautiful memorial, but that might be a once a year or once every 5 years experience. But this brings this into every neighborhood that it runs through. And actually, I think almost every neighborhood, because everyone's glued to the television,
Right.
right? So I think what has happened with this tragedy is amazing, that this race has brought this positive spirit and this standard and this literally to the streets and to the people.
Which is really what it's about.
Yeah.
That's what we saw in 1995 after the bombing. It was the people that made it work. And again, I think you see it, you're right, every marathon Sunday.
Yeah. Yeah.
And things like this, the build-up, even though this is the grandest build-up, right, because of the anniversary, the build-up is always great in this city. And the media, what the media does, and what everyone does to begin talking about it, really after the first of the year, as the woman who spoke before said, she starts training in January. So this turns out to be a 4-month event in Oklahoma City. Again, does it keep me in Edgemere? Yes. Will it always keep me in Oklahoma City? Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, thanks so much
Yeah,
for all
thank
you
you.
do and for your neighborhood, just being out there celebrating
It is.
life.
It's fun.
what it's all about.
It's fun to go through
It's our
Edgemere.
privilege.
I mean, it's fun to go through all the neighborhoods,
Yeah.
but these things that people have done over the years to just.
So Mimosa Lane.
Mimosa
Mimosa
Lane.
Lane. Make,
you go.
At the
make sure
Taylors.
you know what you're partaking in when you run through Edgemere.
Yeah, look for the woman with the big champagne bottles dancing.
That's awesome.
Thank
Thanks,
you,
Marnie.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
When Heartland Global Payments relocated to downtown Oklahoma City, they became not only a neighbor, but also the marathon's first health and well-being sponsor.
Hi, I'm Lance Hafner, Chief Revenue Officer of the Americas at Heartland and Global Payments. We are proud to be a sponsor for the Oklahoma City Memorial Marathon, and advancing health and wellness is a key pillar for our corporate giving, and it includes supporting causes just like this. As we come together each year, we reflect on the strength and resilience of the survivors, the family members, the first responders, and all who have worked to rebuild and preserve the memory of those affected. We are honored to partner with the Run to Remember.
So, Kari, you took a quick trip down to the Seaside.
I
Half
did the
marathon.
Seaside Half Marathon, and I've got a little treat for you. I brought you a hat. Should have brought you
Oh,
a
thank
sweatshirt.
you.
but-
Run Seaside.
Yeah.
All right.
The thing about this race, I mean, I'm a big fan of Seaside and go there several times a year, but it is our kind of home away from home. But we love this neighborhood. It is a neighborhood built by, in a planned when I was in college, and my family has long loved it. But the reason I love this race, and I've done it a couple of times, my husband sometimes calls it a boondoggle, but he came this time, so it wasn't a boondoggle. But it really is, it's a neighborhood race, and it's benefits the school. I mean, it's very small, but it's a very powerful race. And these kids pour it's their service hours. They had a different kind of nerd cluster there.
Okay.
Very berry.
Okay, I'll give these
So I
a try.
brought those to you.
I'm going to tell you, I've become obsessed with nerd clusters. I have decided, I've tried a lot of things when I've been doing long runs to eat. I'm a kid at heart and I maybe really like sugar a lot, but like I really look forward to, I'm like, okay, at minute 45, I get to have some nerds.
Well, there you go.
And I get real excited, and it does give me a boost in my step. So for me, it's working. I know it doesn't work for everybody, but
I tried it myself, and then I just did the 5K, but I tried it myself, and what fun spirit. They had tons of those out for people, by the way, and the kids, so I think it is
it's a kid at
it's
heart
a kid,
thing.
kid at
Yeah.
heart thing. And
Yeah.
so, funny enough, we had a weather delay. Really was not funny. It wasn't funny to the organizers, I know. It was a tornado watch, and it was just right when we left dinner on Saturday night, it was like 95% humidity. We're like, this is not going to be good. And sure enough, a tornado watch came in, so they moved everything back an hour and a half, which I could feel their pain.
Of course.
And people were frustrated, and they'd train for a half, and then they'd turn it to a 10K. But the sun came out about race time, and it was a glorious morning along 30A. And you run along the ocean along 30A, and you come back. And anyway, Dr. Chambers and I just kind of reflected on why our race is important, and we were just in a different location. So
Good.
take a
Okay, well,
look.
let's take a listen.
Okay, here we are at the Seaside Half Marathon 5K. So look who I found. Dr. Chambers running the course. Look what I also found. The Nerds Gummy Clusters. I love it. And so that's good. So this is like the TikTok sensation, and runners are loving these now. So we're talking about them all the time. So we're here, just a neighborhood run, fun community run. It's a fundraiser, but we're getting ready for Oklahoma City. What are you looking forward to for this year's race? I am looking forward to it being a beautiful day and no tornadoes, no thunderstorms. It's going to be gorgeous. It's going to be a great way to kick off the quarter at our 25th, and I'm really excited just to experience it again. I got to be more up close and personal with it last year, and I can't wait to do it again because it's so much fun, such a great experience. You were in the lead car. You can do that again? Yes. That was so much fun. I got to see all the different, so all the neighborhoods, and you got to see the real spirit of Oklahoma and Oklahoma City. That was a blast. I was like a little kid in a parade. It was so much fun. What was the favorite thing you saw along the course? Well, of course, I love Gorilla Hill. It's hard not to, but that is your neighborhood. It's my neighborhood. But I really, really liked going through Lakehurst, and I also like going through Mesa Park and Lincoln in there. Those were fun because people are just so excited and they're goofy. And then we went by the class and curve and the cycle bar. All those people are out there on the cycles and yelling crazy things. It was lots of fun. So it's so great how the whole community gets involved. And as we tackle the 25th, why is the marathon so important to the memorial? Well, it just shows that it brings the community a better awareness of what the memorial is all about. And it keeps it relevant to the community. It's the 25th marathon. It's the 30th anniversary. It's just important for us all to have this amazing thing to come together and be a part of, to remember. Your day job, you're a doctor. Any great tips for these runners, women or men, who are starting to about halfway through the training cycle? Well, I suggest that you follow a training program and don't just wake up one morning and decide, hey, I think I'm going to run a marathon. I mean, you could walk a marathon, but you probably wouldn't be able to walk the next day. So I would say train, stay hydrated, be healthy, take care of yourself. And on your way in this morning, you recruited the runner at least. We're looking for Rhode Island, but you found somebody else, right? I did. I was on the shuttle in and met a nice woman from Niceville, Florida. And I was hoping she was from Rhode Island, but she's from here. But she was looking for a marathon to run in April. I said, I got the one for you. So she said, okay. There you go. Straight here from the Seaside 5K and Half Marathon. We are wrapping it up and promoting OKC. Yay. Okay.
Well, Kari, that looks like it was a good time.
Oh my gosh,
Yeah.
I recommend it. Maybe next year we'll all go.
Okay, I'm in.
My staff is a little bitter and like, why didn't we get to go? Like, that's a great point, but it really is just a great way to show how the community. I actually learned a couple of things, and so I loved their spirit, and they have a great Taste of 38 on Friday night to kick off the weekend. It just was a great community spirit, and it's so similar to what we see here on a different scale, but very similar. And it does, like Marnie said, it all goes back to the people. The people
Sure.
make it work. So
Yeah, for sure.
speaking of people, we're still looking for someone from Rhode Island.
Okay, still.
I'm getting weary, Rhode Island. Come to the table.
Who ran from Rhode Island
I
last
don't
year?
know,
Do
but
we
we're gonna go
do
find
we
them.
need to find
That's
him?
a
Bring
good
him
point.
back.
That's a
Yeah,
great
bring him
point.
back.
Anyway, if you're still on the fence about running, your time is running out before we do another price increase.
Okay, the price
So-
increase is March 4th.
March 4th, yep. And so you've got a few days to get in before we raise prices, and it's not going to get any cheaper. So just if you're on the fence, jump in.
And
You'll be
now,
glad
you
you
know,
did.
we're well into our training, so you kind of know your distance.
Right. And the quarter is something most people can achieve. The 5K, you can do one day, one the other if you want.
Yeah.
But don't let the weekend sneak by you. You're going to want to be a part of it.
Oh, for sure. As always, it's as I've said before, I think it's the greatest weekend in Oklahoma City.
I agree with you.
Yep. Well, that's a wrap for this week's program. Thanks for joining us. Join us every Friday for a new episode. Let us know what you think and tell us your running story at okcmarathon.com. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button so you never miss an episode. The Memorial Marathon takes place the weekend of April 25th through the 27th. And if you haven't already, sign up today at okcmarathon.com. This is your host, Kristen Fairs. Let's marathon.